the FA Cup had been stolen and what had happened to it.
On the 11th of September 1895, some naughty bugger nicked the FA Cup. It was never seen again.
After winning the Cup 1-0 against their bitter rivals West Bromwich Albion, Aston Villa made the naive decision of displaying the trophy in William Shilcock's sports shop window. During the early hours of the morning, the Little Tin Idol went walkabouts. Nobody was arrested.
60 years later, a man called Harry Burge confessed to a national newspaper that he'd stolen the cup and melted it down to make fake coins. But his story didn't add up and the case was closed. Or was it?
Our adventure had begun. We had one clear mission: find the FA Cup, starting with the man who had already confessed.
Google him. See if he's got an IMDb.
Who was said to be a person who did nothing but be a felon for the whole of his life.
He wasn't a successful offender. He was a bit of a chancer.
A lifelong criminal, thief, receiver of stolen goods.
He seemed to be a small-time petty criminal.
He hadn't had a particularly successful criminal career. He'd been convicted 40-odd times.
I've got a little story here. Do you want me to? Yes, please. I'll try and read it out to you. You might never believe that the man who stole the FA Cup became a hero, but it is true. He'd been injured saving a child from certain death by diving in front of a car to push the little one clear. So that adds a bit of sparkle to the life of Harry Burge.
So, if Harry James Burge confessed, why didn't the police nick him there and then? What about his story doesn't add up?
They had a photograph of him with a crowbar, and he said that he broke open the back door. Well, apparently the local newspapers at the time, I believe, talk about a hole in the roof.
Certainly when the police got to Shilcock's premises, what they found was that the thieves had made their entry through the roof.
And the lead being nicked at the same time from the roof.
They stripped the lead, they went through the lath and plaster, they got into the shop, they took a few shillings out of the till, but the main thing they were after was the FA Cup.
So it's possible that dear old Harry was just making it up. I guess the Sunday Pictorial might have paid him a bob or two.
Right, let's disregard everything we know about Harry Burgess. I don't think he did it, you don't think he did it. So let's look to the internet and see what else we can find. Sweet. Look at this. John Stosh Estate did boast about stealing the cup to his children, while Harry Burge went as far as going to the papers in 1958. John Stosh Estate.
Oh, Stosher. That's his nickname, Stosher.
We've got a new suspect! This is blown wide open, Jason. Peaky Blinders, the 1900s Brummy Gang drama on BBC Soon. My great-granddad, Stosh Estate, was a member. He stole the FA Cup in 1895. He's a Peaky Blinder, made famous by the BBC.
We had two suspects, Henry Burge and John Stosh Estate. We needed to visit the scene of the crime. Next stop, Birmingham.
We're roughly outside where the shop was. This is the spot where the FA Cup was won and lost.
Newspapers were filled with headlines, the FA Cup had been stolen.
I mean, what an incredibly stupid thing anyway, to put the FA Cup in the front window of your shop.
He was inconsolable. He had a very high reputation. He thought, for the rest of my life, I'm going to be a hated man, the man who lost the cup.
Aston Villa have actually lost the FA Cup more times than Birmingham City have won it.
The Villa were fined £25 by the FA. They had to put together a new cup, and they went to a man called Howard Vorton.
Vortons were commissioned to make a replica, to make a replacement for it. It was made from hallmark silver. I'm sure if someone stole it back then for the money, they may not have had to melt it down entirely. They could have just chopped it up to be an unrecognisable state. and then go and take it to a bullion dealer's.
Birmingham had also had a bad reputation for generations for coiners, people who made illegal coins. And that went right back to the Civil War, the English Civil War, and afterwards.
Crooked bookies bought large numbers of these to sort of pay out minor winnings.
I do feel myself that the FA Cup was bought, broken up, melted down and turned into coins that were passed off in local pubs.
So there's hand-me-down stories of certain local people going into local pubs like this one, all of a sudden buying rounds of drink with everybody, which you'd perhaps not normally expect them to do.
Wouldn't have been a lot of it. It was only 18 inches high, so what we're looking at there. So I don't know, 40 or 50 coins, perhaps 60 coins at the most. Half crowns probably, which was 12.5 pence to you youngsters. But in those days, don't forget the poverty line was about £1 a week. So there's 8 half crowns in a pound. So if you've got 40 or 50 half crowns, and there's 4 of you, let's say 40 half crowns between 4 of you, that's 10 half crowns apiece.
The time had come to meet our mystery tweeter, the relative of Stosher himself.
My great-grandfather was John Stosher State. I was told only when I was about 39, and it was in the Birmingham Mail, that it was in fact him that purportedly stole the FA Cup from the sports shop window. If you say people don't believe you, but he genuinely was part of the Peaky Blinders gang.
Well, there's lots of gangs around there, and people have got this misconception there was only one Peaky Blinder gang. In London, the gangs were called hooligans. In Manchester, they were called scuttlers. In Birmingham, Peaky Blinders.
He was a fairly sort of junior member of the gang.
Some of these guys may well have been Peaky Blinders.
I get a good sense that the real sort of Peaky Blinders and the world in which they live was not quite the glamorous thing that they make out in the TV.
But what they really were petty thieves and criminals, just like Harry Burge.
My uncle died about 2 years ago now. I went to see him in the hospice a few times, and I tried to get stuff out of him, but he just wasn't playing ball. But when he died, I was the recipient of his will, and there was, put it this way, substantially more in there than I thought there would be. Everybody in the State family is buried in Whitton Cemetery. It's most likely that he is there, yeah.
So we keep hitting walls with our investigation. We get the same names, people saying we're never going to find it, and it's just been melted down to make coins. So we're going to try something a little bit left field and go and see a clairvoyant, see what he knows.
That is the actual
That's
cup.
it. 1895 went missing, never seen again.
Where was it stolen from?
It was stolen from a shop on Newtown Road.
My first reaction was, it's often a sort of instant reaction to a question. If you ask me about anything, it's my instant reaction. For some reason I felt around the Semitic area. Now that didn't make sense to me. Another thing we would consider, was it stolen because to get back at us particularly? No, I think it was simply what we might today describe as an opportunist thief. There was a lot of violence around the people that took this cup, nothing to do with the cup. They were pretty nasty people, I think. I think it's intact. I think it's not a million miles away from Birmingham, pretty close to the West Bromwich area or somewhere in that area. The next most important question, will it be discovered? Possibly within 6 months.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Could be us.
So, on the advice of our mate Morris, the clairvoyant, he sent us here to Smethwick, and this is West Brom territory, so if anyone nicked it, I reckon it'd be their rivals. We've got no other leads. Let's chat to some people, see if they've nicked it, they've got it on their mantelpiece.
Do you know anything about the missing FA Cup of 1895?
No, sorry, I don't know.
I have no idea. I'm not a football fan.
No.
Yeah? No. You don't?
I have no idea what it is. No, I'm awfully sorry, I can't.
Thank you.
So I've chatted to loads of old boys in there. They know nothing about the cup. They keep getting it confused with the World Cup that went missing. And no one wants to chat to us. It's either some massive conspiracy or no one cares.
Do you think we'll find it?
No, it's gone.
They wouldn't have taken the cup without doing something, would they?
No.
Obviously it's 120 odd years since that happened, so the chances of finding that are pretty remote.
These men were petty thieves. Are they going to keep it for a romantic reason where they can go down the pub and have a good drink? Come on.
So we're not going to find it?
You're never going to find it, it's gone. Put your dream away with the rest of them.
So this is the last roll of the dice. We found a comment on an Aston Villa forum saying it was buried here in Aston Park. We're going to go and try and find it. Sadly, our first investigation has ended in a failure. It seems to us that the secret will stay in the unmarked grave of Stosha State.
Our fingers are crossed that Morris is right and somebody finds it in the next 6 months.
I found something.